let's use this design to illustrate a few issues that might be bothering you as a GCAD Plus user. The first here is the command line has been floated. It doesn't appear down at the bottom of the screen. That's easy to dock again. Just pick it up and move it, and then come along here and drop it in that position. Now the command area is where we expect it to be. The other thing I'd like to show is that if we look at this design, there's quite a large plant schedule showing to the right, and here's the design proper. It's a nice design for a small corner area in a rear garden. If we go to the layout sheet called planting, and I pick the plant schedule is a block, but it's been copied from the model space, and it works. If we go back here, so there's a block here in model space, the plant schedule, and then a repeat of it. It's been, because it's created in the drawing, it's just been dragged in and shows in the layout sheet. I'd like to show that there is an easier way and a method that gives you more flexibility. So let's delete that now, and we'll come back here to the model. You might find it easier to pick up the schedule, just draw it somewhere else on your design sheet. And now we can go back to planting again. It's disappeared, and right click and select add a viewport, and I'll mark a viewport in the area where we want it, and we can make it a little larger. Maybe we want to tuck it into that area. So if I drag a crossing window now, can you see I have two floating viewports, the main one showing the design and this second one. Let me unselect all, and I can pick this second floating viewport, double click it, and now I can zoom in on the plant schedule, and then change the magenta box, which shows it's really just a snapshot into the design, and we can display it on the sheet. We can change the color of that to make it 0 if we like, but what I'm trying to illustrate is it's giving me quite a lot more flexibility. I can tuck this where I want it. I can double click again and come it into a tighter zone, reposition things, and then display on the layout again, and that's sitting where I want it. I'll just choose color 255 for the border of that floating viewport, so it sits quite nicely, although you might want to just move it down a little to get the white border on a white background. And then we can do the same here. Select the viewport, click in here, and now display that on the viewport. If I give the first floating viewport a little more room, we might get a better magnification, a better view of it. And I'll again just reposition. I don't think I need tank to show. It's just a storage tank there. And now display on the layout. So from my view, that's starting to look a little better. Here's the title block information. And at this point, I'll just move that slightly to the left there. And now you might even add, say, a rectangle, and set a rectangle like so. Bring it in here so we get equal amount of white around it. We'll change the corner radius to say 10 units, and we might well give that a relatively thick border. So as I zoom in, and it could be thicker, we'll go up to 0.8 of a millimetre. And now zoom extents. Of course I have to turn line weight on, and I forgot. So that's, in my view, just standing out really quite nicely now. The other thing you might notice is that a polyline which was drawn with the boundary command, and actually I'll demonstrate that now. We'll get rid of that one and we'll say draw a boundary, and we just click to the outside of, I need to, oh, whoops, I can fix that later. I'm just running around the area of interest because I'll discuss now the reason why I'm doing that. That's now closed. That's in fact, it's a polyline, and we can give it a fill, a color and a fill. And we want a sort of color roughly like that. We'll give it a fill, and then we'll send it to the back. And there we are. The reason that I want to do this is if I select, that's a polyline through there, but notice that it's got a spline fit to it to give you a nice curve. And in order to create a new polyline, we'd want to join the line across here to that flexible polyline. Let me see if and if we try to join those and join that line to it, we would not be able to. You can't join a curve fitted line to an ordinary line or a standard line. So I've created another background, if you like, and I can just move things around to suit. I could even say, no, I want just a nice curving. I can give it a fit spline there, and we now come here, and there is our backdrop. You might argue that it's a little bit too dominant, so we could reduce the transparency of that to 150 and come back in here to our planting. So I think that's relatively subtle, and so different ways of dealing with the flood fill. That little movie was made because we had a different person querying how do you join a curve fit polyline to a straight line. The answer is you cannot. But I like to think that we've got a little more flexibility into laying our layout sheet out by using a new floating viewport and putting the plant schedule in it. This is a very nice design by Michael Bosbergen, who's based in Melbourne in Victoria, Australia.